Driving the Palouse is a feast for the eyes, one of the most beautiful places in the world. But for those who aren't farmers, the question often arises, what are those crops? Grassy green crops, leafy crops with white flowers, or tall, dense plants with vibrant yellow blooms? Crop identification from behind the wheel of a car can be imprecise, but the experts in this video will offer a few pointers that will allow you to recognize the difference between the primary crops regularly seen on the Palouse. Of course, most of the grassy crops on the Palouse are varieties of wheat, which look very similar. But Aaron Jeschke, Association Manager of the Washington State Crop Improvement Association, points out a few distinctions.
So when you're driving around on the Palouse and you're looking out of your car, seeing a lot of green stuff or crops maturing, by and large, you're looking at a lot of winter wheat around here. Last year in 2022 was 32 million bushels of winter wheat produced in comparison to 9 million bushels of spring wheat produced. The biggest difference between winter and spring wheat is really going to be the maturity times, because in the winter, your winter wheat fields have already been planted. They should be a nice green color as they go into winter. And then as they come out of winter, they obviously keep growing, get a little deeper green, and eventually mature into a golden field like is happening behind us right now. Whereas the spring wheat is typically several weeks later, and so you can differentiate in the field because your spring wheat fields will be greener longer through the summer. Another thing you might see driving around the Palouse is barley. Whitman County is a Northwest leading producer of barley. In 2022, they produced 3 million bushels. When you're looking at a wheat field, most of the varieties have awns, which are the long hairs that come off the seed head. They're also called beards. The biggest tell to differentiate wheat from barley is that the awns on barley are longer. So when you look at a barley field as a whole, it has a much softer, furrier appearance.
In addition to the grassy crops, which are the primary crops on the Palouse, there are also the pulse crops, as explained by Todd Schultz, Vice President of Research and Member Services at the USA Dry Pea and Lentil Council.
As you drive around the Palouse, you can see a lot of different fields, and they're always at different stages of ripeness. In the later seasons, the green crops are probably pulses. And pulses are the dried seeds of legume. In the United States, they include peas, lentils, chickpeas, and dry beans. You won't see dry beans in the Palouse, so we probably will see peas, lentils, or chickpeas. Chickpeas are also known as garbanzo beans or garbanzos. The way you can pick them out is wheat crop looks like a grass crop, but the chickpeas and the peas and lentils, they all have broadleaves, and so they are leafy and probably lower to the ground. As they grow, peas grow taller and faster. They have white flowers and you can see them blooming. I think they're just beautiful. Lentils, they like to grow close to the ground. They have a really tiny flower you won't see unless you get out of your car. And then chickpeas have a pretty open architecture, and they are really a longer season crop. They stay green longer. And then the other characteristic of pulses is they're harvested dry. And if you look real close, you can see the dried pods. On a pea plant, they have like 8 seeds. On a lentil plant, there's only 1 seed per pod. And in a chickpea, it's very similar, 1 seed per pod.
A relatively new crop on the Palouse, but one that is growing in popularity, is also one of the most beautiful, canola.
Another crop you see running around right now is canola, another podded crop, but we don't consider it a legume. It's an oilseed. Characteristic is yellow flowers in the spring. It is absolutely gorgeous when it blooms. And then that seed goes to a plant and they basically crush it and make canola oil. And then you put it on your salads or cook with it or whatever you use canola oil for.
The Palouse isn't just beautiful, its soil is deep and rich, and it is one of the most productive regions in the world. In fact, Whitman County in Washington State produces more wheat than any other county in the United States. Crops from the Palouse are exported all over the world and used in a great diversity of cuisine.
There's a lot of soft white winter grown around here, which is predominantly used for export for noodles, cookies, cakes. It doesn't have a lot of gluten strength. It's a lower protein, lower gluten. And then hard wheat has more protein and gluten, so it's predominantly used for breads due to the rising qualities and the gluten strength in that. Barley, A lot of it obviously is used for malting, for beer production and brewing, and then the other portions go to feed livestock.
Many people have had lentil stew or lentil soup. That's using our lentils. If you've eaten hummus and spread it on your cracker, it's made with chickpeas, and there's a good chance those chickpeas came from the Palouse. And if you're thinking about a meat alternative or even pasta, a lot of the pasta made with plant protein is made with pea protein.
So take it all in. Enjoy your drive of the Palouse. Keep your eyes on the road, but also enjoy the beauty of rolling hills covered with beautiful and abundant crops. If you have time and a safe place, pull over and take a closer look at those crops. Each head of grain and each pod holds food that feeds our nation and nations around the world. In the fall, pull over for some free entertainment as huge combines roll across hills to harvest abundant crops. And the next time you eat a sandwich, dip into some hummus, or drink a beer, remember, you're most likely enjoying food that you saw growing on the Palouse.